Hello everyone, we are Group 4. Please allow me to introduce the forum of our group. We focused on SDG 5, that is gender equality. In order to highlight and emphasize our topic, we have come up with a title for this oral report. Everyone can also see it on the screen. Please allow me to repeat the title. Disrupting Thematic Barriers, a critical analysis of gender inequality in modern workplace. First of all, as the moderator, I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is Li Zhuohan. Secondly, there are my panelists. There are Zeng Yina, Hu Yuying, Feng Ruoyin, and Qiu Keyue. Next, I'd like to introduce the process of our forum. We have 4 rounds of Q&A, each of which will be explained to you by my 4 panelists. These are 4 aspects related to economy, social, culture, policy, and power destruction. Let's talk about thematic options. There are hidden rules, policy, and workplace culture that make it harder for women and the gender moderator to get fair treatment, whether in hiring, promotion, pay, or leadership roles. Even with all our tech and progress, gender bias hasn't disappeared. Sure, we have fancy tools now, but we still judging talents with outdated ideas. The result is that women face these same old barriers the second they step into workplace. For this, I saw some evidence and want to do the justification. As Drew published in 2021, gender inequality is still widespread in workplace. Why this matters for the discussion? This source confirms that gender inequality is not limited to a single issue, but thematic one that affects recruitment, promotion, security, and even retirement policy. Economic dimension is that equal promotion lead to the strengthening of women career. Cultural aspect is that due to the imbalance of power in the workplace and harassment practices. In addition, the policy dimension is that in constant retirement age has have exposed illegal loopholes. To put it bluntly, gender inequality remains a significant challenge to a safe working environment. Not only that, we can also see the detail of gender equality in the SDG. SDG 5.5 provides a measurable goal to hold companies and the governments accountable. Therefore, in terms of policy, the law must stipulate the leadership quota. Culturally, stereotypes about female leadership must be actively eliminated. Please note that the retirement age discrepancy not discovered by Drew reminds us that the produce not only affects the starting point of a career, but also demands the destination. This evidence provides us with an academic and international framework. This evidence are not subjective but rigorous academic data. Secondly, as the goal of the United Nations, they also provide a global consensus benchmark for the role model. Next, I will tell you all about which issue we will mention today. First off is panelist Zeng Yina. She will talk about in the economic dimension. Why do women still earn less than men when doing the same job? Why it's easier for men to get promoted than for women? The second one is Hu Yuying. She will talk about in culture and social dimensions, how do anxious balance and ribostone limit women career development. The third one is Feng Ruoyin. She will talk about in terms of policy and legal dimensions. Is the current workplace illegal law efficiency? Should policy punish defamation or encourage equality? The last one is Qiu Keyue, who will tell us in dimension of harassment and power domestic. How can we create a safer environment? What impact can psychology operation in the workplace have on women? Finally, I would like to make some appeal for everyone. These appeals are not only made to us as women, but also to enterprise, governments, and business, because I believe that among the women here today, we must be someone who will become a leader in an embassy or government staff member in the future. So the first, maintains sensitive to the surrounding environment. Number 2, enhance attention to thematic barriers and enable more women to become leaders. The third one is that challenge the balance in daily decision making and speak out against mirror violations. The last one is that strengthen anti-harassment law and impose penalties on violations. Okay, so this is part where I act as the moderator. Thank you all.
Hello everyone, I'm Belina from Group 4. I will explore the issue of gender equality from the perspective of the economic dimension. Although it is often said that gender equality exists, in reality, women still face many unfair situations in the workplace. The most prominent issues are as follows. First, there is a significant wage gap between men and women. Second, it is particularly difficult for women to get promoted. These problems are not only unfair to women, but also cause huge economic losses globally each year. The first one, gender pay gap, a manifestation of structural inequality. The gender pay gap is still a persistent problem in the workplace. A 2023 study by Binder and his colleagues, which involved thousands of workers from different industries, found that even when women and men have the same education, work experience, and job types, women still earn less on average. For example, in tech companies, female engineers with the same skills as men not only get lower base salaries, but also receive fewer stock rewards. This pay difference isn't because of individual skills. Instead, it comes from unfair systems at work. First, society has long undervalued industries where many women work, like healthcare. Second, some companies use unclear pay systems to hide gender discrimination. They systematically treat women's work as less valuable. The second one, promotion barriers, the invisible glass ceiling. Apart from pay inequality, women face many challenges on the road to career advancement. A 2023 study by Haidari and Alavi on the healthcare industry showed that 75% of frontline workers in this field are women, but only 35% of managers are female. Even when women outperform men at work, their chances of getting promoted are still much lower. It's like a glass ceiling at work. Women can see higher positions, but they often struggle to break through. There are different hidden types of discrimination behind this. Some managers are influenced by old-fashioned ideas. They assume that men are better at making strategic decisions and leading teams, so they overlook female candidates. At the same time, informal workplace social circles often leave women out. For example, in work gatherings and sports events dominated by men, important work information and promotion opportunities are often discussed. But women have a hard time joining these events, so they miss out on many chances to grow in their careers. The interviewing of problems and systemic solutions. Salary and promotion problems are linked in a bad circle. Women earn less, so they can't get enough job training, which makes it harder to get promoted. When promotion is tough, the pay gap with men gets bigger. This isn't fair to women and harms how companies and society grow. To fix this, the government, companies, and society need to team up. The government should pass laws to make pay transparent and reward fair hiring. Companies must be fair in promotions, set clear rules, and help women grow at work. Society should teach more about gender equality to change old ideas. Only by working together can we make workplace fair. The core reasons for choosing the texts. First one, the study by Binder and his colleagues. Relevance. The sample covers multiple countries and industries with a large amount of data and wide representativeness. Timeliness. Published in 2023, the conclusion is relatively new. Authority. The research conclusion directly points to the institutional root of the pay gap, which is highly consistent with the core argument of this report. The second one, the study by Haidari and Alavi. Relevance focuses on the real situations in the healthcare industry with specific cases and close to the reality. Timeliness, the findings from 2023 reflect the current situation. Authority, as the latest achievement in 2023, is accurately reflects the dynamic characteristics of gender inequality in the current workplace. Okay, thank you for listening.
Hello, Madam and Aaron. My name is Hu Yuying. Today, I'm going to share something that often happens around us, but we don't always notice it. My topic is unconscious gender bias in the workplace from a social cultural perspective. So, what is unconscious gender bias? It's when we make decisions based on gender stereotypes, even when we don't realize it. People may believe they are being feared, but their actions are still affected by how they were raised, what they show in schools, in the media, or in society. That's why this type of bias is hard to face, because many people don't even know they have it. Let me explain this using 3 points. I will also share some real research that supports each point. First, let's talk about hearing. Imagine two people with the exact same skills and experience, one man, one woman. You would think they have the same chance of being hired, right? But in many cases, that's not true. I read a study by Fending and others in 2021. They studied group recruitment events like group interviews. They found something very interesting. When women show confidence or try to promote themselves, they were judged more negatively than men doing the exact same things. And this was especially true when the people judging them were men. So basically, if a man says, I am confident, I can do this, he is seen as strong. But if a woman says the same things, people might think she is too aggressive or unfriendly. That's the bias. I chose this study because it directly supports my first point. It shows that women are often penalized for doing the same things men are praised for. This is a clear example of unconscious gender bias in the hearing process. It also reminds us that how people behave is judged through the lens of gender. It made me ask how many Thailand women don't get hired, not because they are not good enough, but because of silent expectations. Now, let's think about where this expectation comes from. I found a study by Huang and Liu 2024. They looked at English textbook used in Chinese secondary schools. What they found was that women are mostly shown as housewives or mothers, while men are shown in professional jobs like doctors or leaders. Also, men almost never do housework in those books. This might sound small, but it actually have a big impact. Think about it. Children learn from what they see. If girls only see women doing housework in both, they may grow up thinking they're mean road. And boys may think they are supposed to be leaders. That's why I picked this article. It shows how gender roles are taught early, correctly, and repeatedly. This message stays in our minds and shape what is best for others and from ourselves. So by the time people enter the workplace, they already carry years of bias without even knowing it. This made me realize gender equality doesn't begin in the office, it begins in childhood. So we have seen how society judges women, but sometimes the problem goes deeper. Sometimes women judge themselves. There's a study by Lieberhold and Wenger 2020. In their experiment, men and women had to do the same test using business software. Both groups did equally well, but here's the interesting part. The women gave themselves lower scores. They didn't feel confident even though they performed just as well. That's internalized bias. It's not that the women weren't good, it's that they have been told directly or indirectly for years that they are not good enough in teach or leadership. And when you hear something many times, you start to believe it. Their study helped me understand how bias is not just outside us, it's inside too. That's what makes it so dangerous. Even if a company is fair on paper, a woman might still feel she's not ready for a promotion, not because she can't do it, but because society made her doubt herself. So, to sum up, bias affects hearing decisions even when women are just as qualified. This idea starts early, from school boards and media. And even if no one says anything harmful, bias can still live inside women's minds. That's why we need to care about unconscious gender bias. It's not loud, it's not always clear, but it's everywhere. Now, why does this matter from SDG 5 gender equality? Because if we don't face unconscious bias, we will never reach real equality. We can change place, yes. But if people believe that don't change, inequality will stay hidden, unseen, still powerful. So what can we do? We can train teachers and recruiters to be aware of their bias, make school boards show men and women equally, and help women grow up knowing they can lead and they do belong at the top. If we start with awareness, we can slowly change the systems. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello everyone, I'm Feng Yin. I will discuss a key aspect regarding the issue of gender inequality, the policy and ego level, institutional protection, and legal loopholes. Although many countries have established a legal system to ensure gender equality, in the actual implementation process, these policies often have institutional loopholes or lack sufficient incentive mechanisms, failing to achieve the expected results and even exacerbating inequality. Let's look at the first point, the issue of maternity leave policies for women. On the surface, the maternity leave system is designed to safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of women during the pregnancy and child rearing, and to protect their job status. However, in reality, many employers still consider women as high-cost employees and have reservations when it comes to recruitment and promotion. And evidence-wise, studies have shown that in many countries, the legal maternity leave system does not provide sufficient incentive for enterprises, resulting in enterprises implicitly excluding female employees, especially when it comes to promotion or leadership positions. This is significantly limits the development opportunity for women. Let's look at the second key point, the selection of punishment mechanisms and incentive mechanism in policy design. At present, there is still controversy in society over whether the policy should focus on punish acts of gender discrimination or on rewarding practice of gender equality. In reality, most police tend to focus on punitive measures rather than providing systems incentive. As a result, they often use loss effect. And evidence too is, for instance, some Nordic countries offer tax relief policies to companies that implement gender equal or recruitment practice. The results show that proportion of women in corporation executive positions have significantly increased in these countries. This incentive-based inequality strategy is more effective and sustainable compared to a single punitive mechanism. I choose this because the maternity leave related system seems to be protect women, but the hidden discrimination issue behind it have been large overlooked for a long time. The debate on the punishment mechanism and the incentive mechanism also directly reflect the institutional dilemmas at the policy implementation level. These contents are not only relevant to reality, but also have discussion value and are more helpful to getting the audience to think about the real social impact behind the legal text. These pieces of information provide our group with important discussion directions. They help us make the institutional obstacles more concrete, counting the entire topic from remaining at the abstract level. In the group of collaboration, I was mainly responsible for research from the perspective for policy and laws. This part of content also enhanced my position within the group as a driver of policy analysis. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Qiu Keyue, and today I'd like to present to you the normalization of violence, especially the sexual harassment and psychological oppression that women encounter in the workplace. I believe that many of us have heard the saying like, just ignore it, or you'll get in trouble. There are so many excuses to cover this fact, and they can be rationalized. As time passes, the workplace has become a battlefield for women. In present days, workplace violence, especially sexual harassment, not only exists in reality, but is also gradually being normalized. Workplace violence may include verbal abuse, sexual harassment, power abuse, and gaslighting. According to a global survey by the International Labour Organization, more than one-fifth, nearly 23% of employed people have experienced violence and harassment. So, including physical, psychological, or sexual violence and harassment. Study shows that between 35% and 53% of working women have experienced some form of sexual harassment at work. But the reality is that these figures may still be far lower than the actual situation because most of the victims chose to remain silent out of fear, shame, or worry that it's no use saying it. The most common type of sexual harassment is verbal gender-based harassment, including insulting, hostile, and derogatory verbal acts like, "What do you, a woman, know? You just like this just to draw attention, don't you? Women should stay at home obediently to take care of their children." You can find out that these remarks often aim to belittle or demean the recipient, reinforcing harmful stereotypes and undermining a woman's confidence and professional standing. Workplace oppression is not merely a workplace issue, it is also a serious mental health problem. In addition to violence in external behavior, psychological oppression is more concealed and more difficult to identify. In a workplace full of gender bias and discrimination, women are often marginalized. Their say is compressed, and they are even subject to invisible restrictions when it comes to promotion. The impact of sexual harassment in the workplace is real and damaging. A study by the American Psychological Association indicates that women who persistently engage in gender discrimination in the workplace are more prone to symptoms of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD, than the general population. As the harassment continues, victims develop anxiety, and their concentration is impaired. They feel targeted, scrutinized, and trapped. They may avoid work or school, take a leave of absence, change jobs, or be fired. Sexual harassment in the workplace also has a destructive effect on the entire company. As the victim's work performance declines because of the stress of the harassment, co-workers also become less productive because they try to manage around the resulting problems. In order to prove the reliability of this information, we can look at two countries, which are Nigeria and Ghana. Because of the legal gaps, the action of sexual harassment is widespread. These gaps often result in insufficient laws or enforcement mechanisms, which fail to adequately address and deter such behavior. According to the American Psychological Association, 22% of workers experienced harassment at work in 2021, Since I have given the statistics about sexual harassment in the workplace in the first two parts, let's directly proceed to the conclusion. As we face this kind of problems, we should not have an attitude of ignorance. We can't stand by and do nothing. Not all violence can be seen. Some jobs become habits. Gender discrimination and psychological oppression will not disappear just because of silence. Only when we stop making excuses for violence and start speaking up for the victims and changing the social consciousness can women truly have a safe and equal working place environment. Thank you.
Okay, that's all about our oral report today. Thank you for your listening.